What up, Nick? How's it going, man?
What's going on, David? How you doing?
Oh, we are good. We are here. There's Michelle. She is here. Let's get her on board. Hey, Michelle, what's going on?
Hello, hello. What's up?
We are good to go. We are ready to rock and roll. It's 5 o'clock. That means it's time for another episode of Wedding Business Growth Live with our newest co-host, Michelle, joining us. So we're excited about that. Nick, I'll start with you first, man. How was your week?
It's pretty good, man. Just starting to kind of get back into the groove of things, and stuff's starting to pick up slowly. But man, it's been pretty good, dude. Can't complain.
Very good. How about you, Michelle? How's things going in the wedding planning world?
Good. I actually am just about a week away from my first wedding since COVID-19. So that's always exciting. And we've been continuing to book weddings. It's actually picked up a little bit this week. So we're getting there slowly but surely.
Nice.
Nice.
Very good. Very good. Well, we just came on board here, so we're going to give some people just a couple of minutes to jump on with us here and be a part of our discussion today. If you're just joining us, just a reminder, in the comments section, actually, there is a link to the StreamYard app. If you just go to the StreamYard app and you click on that and just give it permission to utilize your photo and name, if you make any comments during the broadcast, we'll be able to put those up and show those and know who said them. And unlike last week where we were just playing a guessing game, Nick, on who all was commenting, and half the time we got it right and half the time we didn't. So what do you do?
Right.
But once again, come on board with us, guys. This is just a free forum for us to talk a little bit about different topics. We typically do a poll to find out what the members of the group would like for us to talk about this week, guests that we want to bring on. Since last week, we lined up some really cool guests based on feedback that we received last week, based on polls that we're putting into the room. So we're really trying to do a lot to help you guys out, give you guys a lot of information, and make sure that we're delivering the what you're looking for, so that you want to keep coming back and joining. Again, just a reminder, if you haven't done so yet, I encourage you to please invite your friends that are in the wedding industry to join us. Nick, you want to talk a little bit about that, just the value from that?
Yeah, I mean, guys, we're doing so much great stuff. We've got tons of written content that's coming out on a weekly basis. We've got these Facebook Lives as well, where you can have your questions answered and be a part of the conversation. I know, David, last week we talked about if anyone's interested in writing, or you can write articles, or we can just have a conversation. So there's a lot of great community here. So I highly recommend reaching out, getting your friends involved, getting other people involved, or anyone that can value from this.
Yep, absolutely. Sounds like somebody's got a hair dryer going over there. Somebody drying their hair?
I'm just kidding.
Nick, you over there drying your hair, man? You've been running around.
You already know. Yeah, you see this little spike I got going on?
I know. I noticed you had a little bit of a different hairstyle. Well, I got mine cut today too, but I didn't do it. So
I didn't do it yet, a COVID cut.
Did you?
I did the COVID buzz cut myself, so it's finally at a point now where it's like looking kind of normal. So
very good, very good. Well, again, if you guys are just joining us, man, we're here today to talk about some of the topics that were brought up in the group that that we want you guys to continue to keep letting us know the things that you'd like us to talk about, the guests that you like for us to bring on. This whole community is about helping you. It's about helping the people that are a part of the community. We talked a little bit last week, and Nick, I just want to touch on this real quick, mostly just because this is something that's really important to me. So I'm gonna do a quick screen share here, and let me see if I can remember how to do this properly, right? So let's see if this works. Yep, there we go. So on the screen there, and it might be a little tough for viewers to see, but this part of the program, or this part of the page, is on the left-hand side. It's called mentorship. And to me, it's just something that's really important about what we really want to do with this group, which is create mentors to help people that are fresh, new in the wedding industry, that are trying to grow their business, or maybe even just, like week one, day one, minute one, whatever the case may be, people that are just really looking for help from the business side of their business. We're not really focusing as much on the craft. I feel like that's something that your motivation and your desire to be the best DJ or wedding planner or videographer or whatever it is you do, your motivation to want to be that should be enough to really encourage you to to seek out the information for that. But on our page there, on the tab on the left, it says mentors. If you're interested in either being a mentor to somebody, or if you're interested in having a mentor, and remember, a mentor can be somebody to help you with one topic, or it can be somebody to help you on a broad scale. And so we really want people to take advantage of that. It's not something you're going to have to pay for. So just know ahead of time that if you're kind of volunteering to be a mentor, just know that that's something that we're going to kind of just ask you to do. Maybe give somebody I don't know, an hour of a week out of the week, if you can manage that, or if you want to give a little more, that's up to you. But we're kind of leaving that between the mentor and the mentee, I guess is the right term to use. So if you're interested in doing that, please, jump in there, just go to that tab where it says mentor and sign up to either be a mentor or a mentee. In order to kind of help us connect people together, because again, we want to really utilize this group as an opportunity to help people build their businesses, help people create a sustainable business that they can see lasting beyond a year, 2 years, 3 years, like really expand beyond just here today, gone tomorrow, which, I think both of you guys could say that, we see in this industry all the time. And so if we can help prevent that, then that's something really cool that we're going to do. Michelle, I'll shoot it to you real quick. Talk a little bit about, maybe, I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but talk a little bit maybe about, somebody that you don't even have to name the person necessarily, but what maybe a mentor has helped you personally in your growth as a planner.
Well, obviously Lindsay has been someone I've worked with since I started all of this. And she's just been great to learn from. She's been in the business for multiple years, working with all of you vendors very closely. So I'd say she's probably been my number one mentor. Kind of took me under her wing and showed me the way. But also, just multiple other vendors, I think in the beginning, I definitely instilled now. I still always ask, what can I do to improve? I love constructive criticism from anyone, just different vendors. And it definitely helps being a planner, especially, we have to think on all sides sometimes, whether it's on the DJ side or the floor side. We kind of have to pull from all aspects during the event. So it's nice to learn from just everyone. Yeah.
No, I think you bring up a really good point, and that's kind of the beauty of what we're putting together with this mentor component of the group, which is and I said this last week, like we all pretty much have the same clients, if you will, like couples getting married, or a company doing an event, or whatever the case may be. Like we all have those same clients as people that we're going to be working with, but the deliverable is a little bit different. Regardless of that, it's still something that we can learn from each other, and we can help teach each other from the business side of things, and what could a method by which you discuss things, or you present things to a client could be learned by anybody else in the industry. By the way, if you're watching, guys, if you have comments, please drop them in the comments section. If you have questions at any point in time during the conversation, please put those questions in there, drop those in the comments. We want to hear from you guys. If anybody's daring enough to come on camera with us today, you're more than welcome to do that. We'll invite you to do that if you want to jump on with us and you have something you'd like to kind of add to the conversation about an experience that you have or something that's worked for you. Guys, that's what this is all about. This is all about us helping each other and just growing as a community and building stronger businesses and building stronger bonds within the people that have chosen to be a member of this group. Last week, we talked a little bit about social media. Nick, I'm going to kick it over to you for maybe just a little recap on that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. We talked about pretty much everything about social media, from how important it can be in your business. It's a great marketing tool, but we also talked about how it can be potentially dangerous if you don't control your social media use. You could find that your social media will be controlling you. So we kind of just dropped some tips on how to manage social media use. Some of the pitfalls of social media. One of the things that I'll always recommend is setting a limit on your time on the app, because you can really you can find yourself on the app for hours. I've been there. So just went over a few of those tips in regarding to social media.
Yeah, and I think that I agree that one of the things that we really touched on, which was important to me. Sorry, I'm just monitoring these messages, and people are reaching out to me to ask how to do this, how to do that. Sorry about that. Just like you brought up a great point about really monitoring the amount of time that you're spending on social media, and I think one of the things we really talked about too was the fact that when you have when you own your own business, it's so different than when you're working at a company, and you can kind of go to work at that company, do the things that are affiliated with that company for those hours that you're there, and then when you leave, you have Nick time or Michelle time or David time or whatever. When you own your own business, it's not like that at all. It's like it's all jumbled up into any hour of the day, if you will. So
yeah.
So I think that was good. Yeah, we definitely did talk about just balancing that out. Michelle, anything to add about social media on your end? Is just maybe tidbits or things that you found have helped out a lot?
Not too much. I try not to spend. I find myself not on my own personal social media as much. I spend more time on the business social media.
Yeah.
But not too much on the social media end. Fortunately, I try to keep my phones. I actually have found that I use my phones less now, just owning my own business and stuff. But I don't want to be on my phones because I work on them 24/7. So
yeah, it's easy to get sucked up into it. You know what I mean? And that you look down and you're like, man, I've been on my phone for an hour. What did I really accomplish?
I do love the new feature that it will tell you what you spend your time on your phone with, exactly what you're on. So some days I do look at it and I'm like, wow, I've really done nothing on my phone.
Yeah.
What have I been doing? But sometimes social media is a little bit higher.
Nick, what else did we talk about last week, man? I'm just trying to remember everything, that we make sure we get these recaps real quick.
Yeah, it was a lot of social media, a lot of the comparison of social media too. Like you have to be careful that, you don't fall into the traps of like comparing yourself to your competition, and like kind of how to distinguish that, and how to be responsible with social media. But we also talked about just the coronavirus and everything that's going on with that, and how it's affecting the event industry. Just kind of how we see events going, or what's happening. Obviously, here in Florida, we're still in this phase 2. Starting to see some events pick back up, which is amazing. And people still getting married, planning their events, planning their weddings. Kind of how we see the events going. I know we talked about live streaming on the video side of things, for all the video folks out there. Live streaming is a great way that you could sidestep, in your business to kind of help bridge the gap now. I've noticed that putting that service out there has been helpful, but also just how my events have been canceled. I mean, and how we kind of cope with that, how we've had to reschedule things. And I mean, we talked about some of that stuff on the on the video side of things, but also on the DJ side of things too. How you can sidestep and do that stuff too. So just kind of speculation, our own opinions. I know we're not medical experts by any means, but yeah, pretty much just about the coronavirus and everything, and hopefully that starts to everything starts to pick back up. I know Michelle and David just talked about, they're starting to see stuff come back. So that's awesome to hear. So
yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things where I refuse to fall into the trap of the new normal, but it is a little bit of an adjustment and a little bit of a change, and just something we're going to have to get used to. And it's great to be able to lean on each other and ask each other, hey, how have you dealt with this yet with a client, or have you dealt with that yet with a client? And if so, can you give me some pointers or some help on maybe how to handle this situation? So I think it's great that we all have the ability to kind of communicate back and forth with each other in that regard. Once again, if you're watching, guys, please drop a comment below or a question below. Let us know, what you want to talk about, guys. We put a poll out there to ask everybody kind of what they wanted us to talk about, topics they wanted us to address. A couple of the topics that we're going to be dealing with today are time management and marketing. So if you're watching and that's something that you kind of voted for, or you kind of said, hey, I'd love some help with time management or marketing, please feel free in the comments to ask specific questions or drop specific comments about either one of those topics, so we can make sure to get those questions answered. We can make sure to address specifically what you're what you're looking for. We have some things in mind, and we have some ideas of what we want to talk about today. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we're giving you what you want. So please utilize those comments, the comment section, to drop us a comment, drop us a message. Let us know that we're not just talking to ourselves today. It looks like we've got people watching. So, we'd love to hear from you, and we'd love for you to just drop a comment, even if it's just to say, hey, David, shut up. I like listening to Michelle talk better. Like, that's fine with me, man. Like, at least that way I know that somebody's paying attention to us. And I'm kind of joking, but nevertheless. All right, guys. So that's kind of a recap of last week. The final thing I'll say before we move on is, if you missed last week's episode, and it was a long one, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, we went almost 2 hours, but it was like at the end of it, we were like, wow, we really went that long. It just it had a good flow, a good feeling. It was a good conversation with some great people watching that were asking some great questions, and so that really helped us, just continue to just kind of riff about what was going on. So it was really cool to do that. So I can't guarantee how long we're going to be going today, but we'll go as long as the conversation takes us. And just by the way, all of the recordings are available to you in the units. There I go saying that word again. But if you go to the WBG live unit on the left side of the Facebook group there, all the recordings will be there. So if you missed it, you can go back and watch it and catch our conversation. So, all right. So let's talk first about time management. Nick, you put a really, really good article in the units section under life hacks, and that article was Own Your Week. And I think you just had some really good suggestions and ideas in that article. So let's maybe start there. Let's kind of jump in about some of the ideas and recommendations that you have, and then we'll just see where the conversation goes from there.
Sure. So the biggest thing for me when I put that together was it was straight coming from just experience and things that I've learned and finding what works for me. I used it all throughout college. I still use it today. I found that when you're planning your week, the biggest thing is when you want to get things done, your goals and everything that you have for the week, it's important that you plan them out in a way that you're not going to overload yourself, but that you're strategically planning things every day. So in the article, I talk about a macro and a micro calendar. The macro calendar I just use on my phone or on my computer. It's also on my phone with Apple. But and then I also have a micro calendar, a checklist. I think I have one. Here, let's see if I can find it. Yeah, I keep like a little journal, like a little field notes journal. It's got all my stuff in it, checklists that I keep for the day on things that I want to get done. So I break it down even further. And that kind of sounds crazy, but I found that the checklist on top of the actual calendar helps me get it done. So I can really plan things out. I know that sounds nuts, but I found it to be really, really helpful in getting things done. So I don't like overschedule myself, and I end up getting a lot more done during the day. So that's the biggest thing, is setting up the framework for it, is making sure that you have a larger plan and the smaller plan. I used to like the written planner, but now that everything with the business, like I can have everything on my phone. I take my phone everywhere I go, so it's really nice to have that on there as well. And that little journal, honestly, I take it with me everywhere too. It fits in my pocket. So that was kind of the big thing that I talked about in the article, and then just sticking to the plan as hard as it is. But that's why we make the little micro calendar, so you don't overschedule yourself. But sticking to the plan is so important. And there's going to be days you're like, oh, I don't want to do this, but trust me, if you stick to the plan, you'll feel good at the end of the day that you got done what you wanted to. And when you do that over time, like days become weeks, weeks become months. That's when you start to see real progress. So,
well, I think one of the things that you talked about that I really liked in there was, having blinders on and just making sure that you can stay focused on the tasks at hand. I'm like the king of multitasking. Like
Yeah,
literally,
you are.
as we're doing this broadcast right now, I'm like doing 5 different things at one
Yeah.
time. To make sure that we're staying on point here, and make sure that the people, some people are watching on a watch party, and some people are watching directly on the feed here. So I'm trying to make sure that I field all the comments from all those places. But just a small example of how, staying focused and staying attention, keeping your attention on, what it is that you're doing on your task list, I think is really helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're a wizard. You were a legitimate wizard at multitasking. I honestly wish I could do that, but I really can't, dude. I have a one-track mind. And that's why the journal or the checklist comes in handy for me, because I just, yeah. So
Michelle, what about you? What are your thoughts on managing time? Any ideas or things you can think about in addition?
I think I liked the part where you said, don't be a task hero. I'm definitely one of those people who will try to put every little thing that I need to get done on my list just because I want to get it done. And, the littlest thing, like take out the trash or something.
yeah.
But definitely trying not to be a task hero is a big thing, because you got to kind of focus on the things that need to be done more. I guess prioritizing your task.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a big one for me. And I definitely am. I try to be queen of the multitasker like David. I've always got, 5 different files open, and I've got 2 laptops currently open. And so I am definitely notorious for multitasking. Sometimes I find myself in a rut. Sometimes it works out for the most part. So.
Yeah, I think that like for me, it's a prime example of like when you're a business owner, you're wearing so many different hats. You know what I mean? Like you're the salesperson for your company, you're the marketing person for your company, you're the accounts receivable person for your company, you're the customer service person for your company, you're actually providing the service that your company sells. There's a lot of different hats. So sometimes it sounds great, but it's just not always as easy to be able to pass those things off. And in future conversations, that's one of the things we really want to dive into a little bit is virtual assistants, and thinking about how those people can really help you out with stuff when it pertains to time management, when it pertains to kind of prioritizing the things that are most important to you as the business owner, and still having those other things taken care of in a timely fashion, and hopefully in an affordable fashion, so that you don't drop the ball. I mean, at the end of the day, none of us are octopus. And as much as I try to be the king of multitasking, I know there's occasionally things where I end up falling short a little bit, and then I have to play catch up, or I have to go 26 hours in a day, which obviously is an exaggeration, but like I have to go so many hours in the day to get all of this stuff done, because my hands are in so many different things. So it's definitely tough. Nick, I would say, for you, you've been in business now right at about a year. Over that year, like what are some of the things maybe that you found just in the first year that maybe in the beginning were doing that now you're like, okay, this is a shift I've made because it helps me save time?
I'm just trying to think about it. So honestly, I felt like I was all over the place in the beginning of the business. I really felt like I was just trying to like hold everything together, and like it's like almost like the hammer game at the arcade where it's the whack-a-mole, where you're trying to like you hit one thing and then it comes up. You're just trying to like keep everything together. So for me, that's where I was like, man, like I need to start really setting things in priority order, kind of like Michelle was talking about earlier, because if I try to do everything in one day by myself, like I'm just going to end up working like 18 hours a day. And I mean, there's some days where you definitely have to put the work in. But I noticed that when I really started keeping track of my time and what I was doing, it became really clear, like, like this is what I'm spending my time doing. Like, social media was big for me in the beginning. Like, God, I spent so much time doing social media. Like I was like 2 hours a day trying to like post everything and comment and like and reach out to people. And I was like, man, I'm spending a lot of time on social media, and then I have to go edit for another like 5 or 6 hours after this. So keeping track of my time in the beginning and like, because at the end of the day, I was like, man, where's my time going? I had no idea. Like at the end of the day, I was like, geez, like it's been an entire day. What did I do? And I was like, I really need to start keeping track of my time. So that was like when I just started kind of like journaling and saying like, like this is how I'm spending my time, and then making a plan from there about how to execute like my days was big for me. That I learned, like, because there's so much to do in the beginning that you just feel like you want to just split yourself in 5 different directions. And that was where I had to say like, can't do everything at once. You know, I'm only one human being, so I can try to outsource what I can, which in the beginning, you know, you have no money. I had no money. So, I had to do everything myself. So you just have to just really be mindful of how you're spending your time.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ashley, thank you for that. Ashley commented, "This is so helpful." Good. We're glad that what we're doing is helping. That's what this is all about. We definitely want to help, you know, members of this group. We want to help people that are going to continue to join this group. People that maybe you know, watch this video that aren't even part of this group potentially down the road. You know, we just really want to help people with all of these different areas. Michelle, I'm going to shoot a question over to you. You know, you guys deal with tons of brides on a regular basis. And, you know, are there any maybe tips or suggestions that you could offer to people as far as like really trying to manage out time to kind of, you know, I mean, I guess it's got to be a little difficult to equally distribute that attention, because you have some people that are really, really, you know, they need all the attention in the world. And then you have some people that are like, we're getting married next year. We'll see you the week before. We don't care. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Every once in a while you have something like that.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely have clients like that. And I think we learn kind of right off the bat that clients are, you know, need that attention 24/7, 7 days a week. And then you have, like you said, the clients that kind of fall off and I say they go missing, they drop off the face of the earth, and then they come back. I think for me, so especially with us, we have different planning packages. So that kind of helps us, you know, time management them. So some might be, you know, a client we work with the whole planning time. Some might be a client they come in closer to. But for me, I've kind of gotten a lot better at realizing I can't speak to, you know, all 40 brides in one day. It's just really not realistic. So I definitely have gotten better at focusing, you know, on priorities and trying to keep a checklist. But I try to touch base with that client, you know, every other day or something, and keep them kind of in order. So like, for instance, today I touched base with all my October brides. Just knowing that they're coming up, they're getting closer to that 90-day point. So 90 days has really been a point that we found works for us, you know, to really kind of jump in. In the beginning, like you said, it could be a ton of work the first 2 weeks and slow down for the next 4 months. But that 90-day point is, I think, really become a huge thing for me, really diving in and keeping. That's kind of where I start with everything, as opposed to trying to work with them the whole time and really give them all my energy. It's hard because they also have 9-to-5 jobs where we try to keep, you know, our work hours within a reasonable time frame. But then I understand they get off work at 5 o'clock and they want to dive into wedding planning. So my hours might be 6 to 10 o'clock at night that day. So that's also another thing that I think is really important too, is trying to realize that you can't give all of your time. Like, I definitely turned my work phone off now, where in the beginning my work phone was on all the time. I was taking phone calls at 10:30 at night with clients. And that was not managing my time very well. So I learned that real quickly. But yeah, I think just prioritizing, like I said, it's a little bit different with clients, because they're kind of all at different levels. But you kind of learn with those levels where to keep them and how much time they really do need to be given for their planning process. So
I think that makes a lot of sense. And a lot of times, you know, by the way, guys, if you're watching, you know, right now we're talking a little bit about time management as far as professionally and personally. And a lot of the conversations that we'll talk about as we do these WBG lives will be some on the personal side, some on the professional side, some on both sides. Time management is something that I think is important for both of those sides of things. And one of the things I think is interesting to me is understanding that it's kind of like, you know, I think this is an overused cliche, but it's kind of like riding a bike. Like, you don't know what you don't know. And when you first try to do it, as an adult, there's so many things. Once we know how to ride a bike, there's so many things that we forget that sometimes it's difficult to teach people those things. And if we look at it the same way, in the sense that most of our clients have never done this before. They've never gotten married before. They've maybe been, hopefully they've at least been to a wedding or something like that. But most of the time they've never gotten married themselves before. And so I never want to use the word ignorant in a bad way. So they're ignorant, and they're not stupid. They're just ignorant to what's going on, and only because they don't have the experience, they haven't dealt with it yet. And so if we as professionals can know that immediately, and we can use that to our advantage, and we can say, hey, listen, I know that this is the first time you've done this. I know that there's so many things that you're not really necessarily going to know to do, or how to get started, or what direction to go in, or, I think it from the standpoint, like for me, the most important thing to me is the music and the relationship that I have with them from that standpoint, the dance floor, and then the special songs and things like that. And that's only one thing for me. But from Nick, they need all the videography and a photographer, all the different shots they want, the cake, with the flavor of the cake, the design of the cake, the flowers and the venue, and it just keeps going on and on and on. So there's this big mound of things that they have to do. And it's very easy for us as a professional to just get locked into being a little bit selfish and being like, well, why is this so difficult? Like, just get me the information I need. And it's just one of those things where they don't really necessarily know. They don't really necessarily understand the importance of it to you. And so I think what I'm saying in all of this is that the faster that we can convey that information to our clients early on in the process, the less time we potentially maybe have to spend with them throughout the process. Not that we don't want to, but because, we all have to have lives as well.
Yeah, no, great points. Yeah.
Nick,
well,
go ahead.
I would just add on to first Michelle's point about the about how your phone can that's the greatest part about the planning stuff, is like and it's like I know that I'm going to turn my phone off, like my plan is on this day, and like that's just it is what it is, like, because in this business, when you own your own business, in general, your work is pretty much all day, every day. I mean, you can always find something to do. I know I talk about that in another article as well, but like you can literally find something to do all the time. You could work 24 hours around the clock. I think you guys have both attest to that. So that was just kind of the point that I was going to say. And then on David's point too, like sometimes as business owners and as vendors, we kind of forget that we're not the center of the universe. Like my video stuff is not going to be the center of the bride's world. He or she has tons of stuff going on, with other vendors. And like Michelle said, their 9-to-5 jobs, or, whatever they're doing. So just to be mindful of that, and just say, all right, they're going to get back to me, they're going to get me what I need. And just being mindful mostly. So
I think that makes a lot of sense. Absolutely. And utilizing like tools that are available to you. I mean, even just bringing Michelle on with us, and it was great. The first thing she said was, hey, do we want to create a Google document to kind of help us stay on track and help us stay focused on the things we want to talk about? And I mean, that's awesome. I mean, Those tools are available to all of us. And Michelle, maybe you could talk a little bit about the value of the various Google Docs that you guys use. And I mean, I'm not necessarily, hey, tell everybody the documents you use, but just kind of the value of what that's brought to the table, so to speak.
So we use Google Docs just because it's a main platform that we've found has worked for our clients to be able to access. It's live updating. You can log on at any time and see any changes, and you and I could be in the same document and watch each other type. And so for us, that's been a great platform just to be able to offer our brides that. So we create them a workspace essentially. As far as like forms and documents go, I mean, we tell our clients we're always learning new things. Not every wedding is the same. So we're always constantly learning at every event, how to handle a situation, or maybe we do something differently than we've done it for the last couple of years. So we're always updating our methods and process to planning and forms that we do offer our clients, which I think really helps to give them those resources that they can see. I know for a lot of our brides, like you said, they've never done this before. So giving them something that they can visually see or reference is amazing. And you can Google anything these days, but you can't really Google how to plan a wedding in St. Augustine right off the bat and get, the exact way to do it. So we just try to give them as much resource and information as soon as they do book. So like you said, giving them that information right away really does help them kind of come at ease, like, okay, we've got this. So we do share forms and checklists and documents and try to keep those resources just flowing for them throughout the planning process. And that really kind of helps them during the process. I don't know. Oh, did I lose who was?
No, you're good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I'm back. Sorry, guys. Here I am again doing multitasking. I was trying to do a quick share of the talk while you were wrapping it up there, and I just didn't get it done fast enough. But no problem.
Really answer the question. I kind of probably ranted and rambled a little bit.
No. I think you did a great job about it, and that's the thing is that Nick talks about Google Docs all the time, and he's always, he's done a handful of them on projects that we work on for our podcasts and things like that, and they've been super helpful. So, I think it's definitely a good thing, and I think it's definitely anybody who's not using Google Documents is really missing out on on that aspect. So. Without a doubt. Hey guys, once again, if you're watching, please feel free to drop a comment or a question. Right now, we're just kind of talking a little bit about time management, talking about some different things that can help you manage your time a little bit better, and maybe still be able to take care of your client 100%. But also be able to have some time for yourself, to have have a personal life and do some things that aren't always related to business. Although I think in my case, I'll probably always be doing stuff related to business. That's just kind of who I am, I guess. Nick, were there any other tips that we missed? I just want to make sure that we cover, because you had some really, really good gems in there. I just want to make sure that we cover those tips. Were there anything that we missed on there as far as just helpful tips?
Yeah, we can jump into them. Just one thing I wanted to add on to Michelle's point was about just kind of the tools that have been helpful. I know I talked earlier about social media being like a huge problem for me in the beginning of my business, like spending a lot of time trying to curate posts and stuff like that. But I found that using some of the like different social media like planning platforms, like there's tons of them out there. I used Sprout for a while. But they're super helpful in terms of planning everything, because what you do on those essentially is you can plan out your month of posts, and you could actually like automatically do them if you have the stuff already. You can just literally automatically say, I'm going to post this one on Wednesday the 12th or whatever, and it just goes right up there. So that was really helpful for me, taking some time just to sit down once a week, or once a month, excuse me, and just literally plan everything out. I mean, it was probably saved me like 15, 16 hours a week. And that was my gem. Like you guys talk about Google Docs is great too, but my hero was social media, was that planning software, because I don't spend a ton of time on social media just because I just go down the rabbit hole. So I really try to stay off of it. So that software allows me to just stay off the platform actually. So and interact, only when I need to. So, but I think we hit all the points on the article, David. Michelle brought up the task hero stuff and the planning, the protocol I use for the planning. I went over keeping the blinders on. I mean, that's solid.
Yeah, maybe just one more to your point about different tools that you can use. Yeah, there's so many of them out there. Another pretty decent one is called Tailwind. I don't know if you guys have ever looked into Tailwind, but that's a really cool program that you can schedule out. It's mostly for Pinterest posts and like Instagram posts, but let's be honest. I mean, a lot of people in our industry are on both of those two platforms. And so it really allows you to, space out those posts for a pretty decent amount of time. It is a paid service, so there is a little bit of cost involved in utilizing it. But one of the things you have to really think about is money versus time, and is it worth? I don't even know what it is. I think it's like $119. Please don't quote me, but I think it's something like that for an annual plan. But is it worth that? Is that money worth spending? Because now you can sit down for one day, map out your whole 30 days of social media posts, and then you're done. You don't have to even worry about your social media posts until 30 days later, or 25 days later, or whatever you space them out at. Maybe eventually or occasionally you'll have to go in there and there might be a topical post, or there might be a something that you want to interject in from an event or something like that. But for the most part, if you're able to space those posts out, then that's one less thing you can check it off your mind. It's almost like hiring a VA. It's probably, my VA friends would tell me it's nothing like hiring a VA, but it's at least having something automate the process for you, to some extent, and give you the ability to focus on something else.
Yeah, it's definitely a step. A VA would be absolutely incredible. I know I looked into it, just why not? Not even close price wise, especially as a new business owner. It would have been really a stretch for me to do that. But yeah, like you said, it's a start, and do what you can do. I mean, do it within your budget first and foremost. Like, do what you can do within your price range. And you might find that in the beginning that you just got to suck it up and say, you know what, I just got to do this. And like, I'm not at that point yet, but that this is where I want to be. When I very first started, I could not afford like anything. So I had to do all of it myself, and it was not fun, but you get to a point where it gets better for sure.
Well, and to that point, like that's one of the things that we'll probably talk about a lot on here, is that, how do you even know how much to budget? How do you even know how much to charge if you don't even know how much to budget? If you don't even know how much you need to make, and if having that component is important to you, and I'm not necessarily saying you specifically, Nick, but just anybody, if having the ability to afford a VA or something along those lines is important to the business plan that you have put in place, then that has to be taken into consideration of the overall, kind of reverse engineering of your budget to figure out where you need to be price wise. And so that's why you can't just arbitrarily throw something against the wall and say, I'm going to charge X because either it's what most people do, less than everybody else, which is the worst thing you can do, or I'm going to charge X because it's kind of in between what everybody's doing and it's within the realm of what everybody's doing. And if that works along with your business plan, then that's great. But if that is working counterintuitively to your business plan, then it doesn't even make sense to do that. So these are things that are really important. And again, like you said, in the beginning, year one, year two, maybe even year three, that can't be part of the budget. But projecting out to year 3, year 4, year 5, and saying, okay, I have a general idea of what this is going, relatively is going to cost me. How can I work this into, you start getting into these averages. On average, I'm doing 60 events a year. Just as an example, on average, I'm doing 60 events a year. Well, if I take that cost, which might, and I'm just going to, for round figures, that's going to cost me, $1,200, right? So essentially, I can now divide that 1,200 into the 60. Okay, I need to add X amount of dollars to, I'm terrible at math. One of you guys might be better at that. But like, nope. That is, what's that? No? Okay, well, if you got a calculator, figure it out real quick and let me know. Yeah, actually, I got one right here, right? Okay, so 1,200 divided by 60, I got it right here in front of me, $20. So think about it. That's $20, and it's probably far more than $1,200, but I'm just using this as an example. That's $20 more that you need to add to your price that you're charging in order to cover this particular this particular service that is going to potentially propel you to now being able to do 70 events a year instead of 60 events a year, because your visibility is going to increase, your market share is going to increase, your ability to your perceivability is going to increase, and all of that works in your favor. So if you look at it and you could break it down that way, there's a big difference between saying I got to spend $1,200 and I need to charge $20 more or $25 more per event to cover this expense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And looking just real hindsight on that, like that was basic math. That was really basic.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that sentiment completely. So,
Michelle, where are you at on all that?
I completely agree with all that. For me, I mean, the social media and virtual assistant really isn't something that I'm huge on for my time management. Mine for myself personally was getting a work phone. Just going back to the tip where, Nick said your personal phone is personal. The first 3 years of my business, that was my business. I had my work phone and my personal phone for the same phone. And just like he said, if the emails and text messages are there, you're going to check them. So I went back to my budget and I put it in my budget and my events. And for me, it was purchasing a new phone for just my work phone. That was a huge time management saver on my end, because I learned how to manage my personal time and my personal time and my work time just by simply, budgeting for a work phone. And that was my thing. I don't really do too much social media, just personally. So that hasn't been a huge thing for me yet to address, but I'm kind of on the opposite end with the personal phone thing. So,
yeah,
I think that's solid.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, David.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say, I think that's solid.
Yeah, and that's just to go to say that everyone's thing is going to be different. You have to look at and what your biggest problem in your business is right now. For me, David knows this. Like, my thing is social media, so he knows like that's my biggest thing. So, like, for me, I would pay almost any cost to have someone just manage my social media, right? Like, and for your work phone, like, what is that worth? It's invaluable, So it's going to be different for everyone. You just have to find as you go through starting your business and as you begin to get some bookings, what is it that you need help with? What's going to streamline your process for your business. So it's going to be different for everyone.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, if you're watching, again, please feel free. We definitely have some people watching, which is great. We're happy to hear that and see it. Well, I technically see that, but if you're watching, feel free to drop a comment, drop a question, please, in the comments section. We want to hear from you guys. We want this to be interactive. As much as we can sit here and talk to each other all day long, we want to make sure that we're answering your questions. We want to make sure that we want to make sure that you guys are. Hold on one second, guys. Sorry, I was just reading a message there real quick. We want to make sure that we're answering your questions so that you guys can get some value out of this conversation. We hope that even just the conversation itself is valuable if you listen to it later on, or if you're watching it right now. But we love to hear from you. We love to hear your comments. So please, drop them down. Up there, down there, I don't know, wherever you're watching, and there's somewhere to put a comment, put it there, and we'll get it, and we'll address it, especially if it's a question, because we want to answer it. All right, guys. Well, I think we've really talked about time management quite a bit here. I think we've kind of put that to rest, if you will. So I think we're in good shape there. So the next topic that we're going to go into a little bit today, and this is going to be. This is going to be a little bit of a teaser for next week, because we're going to have some guests on with us next week that are going to talk a little bit about some of the things that they did in order to, make the shift, or as I'm refusing to use pivot, but anyways, that's what some people know. They made a big pivot in their business in order to find a way to continue to stay busy during COVID and during not being able to do events like we normally are able to do, and get out there and do the things we're normally able to do. So we're going to talk a little bit about marketing, and so Nick, again, we're going back to your articles, man. They're just there are some serious gems in here, guys. If you have not gone through the articles that Nick has written, that's a big component of this that you're really missing out on. There's some very valuable stuff in there, and so we're going to talk a little bit about marketing. And Nick, I'm going to kick it over to you
Sure.
to kind of jump this conversation off, and
Yeah.
then we'll kind of keep going through it.
Cool. So marketing is obviously like one of the biggest components of a business. It's the most integral to getting your name out there, getting your business out there. Because if you're not in the face of people, they have no idea you exist. That was one of the hardest things that I had to go through in the beginning, was that the realization that people actually had no idea that I existed. So you have to create exposure for yourself in some way. There's plenty of ways to do that. You can do it through joining wedding associations, your local wedding association, bridal shows, wedding shows, marketing on the internet, Facebook, Instagram, the wedding wire, the knot. There's so many different avenues to go down with that. One of the biggest things that I wrote about, one of the first articles I wrote, was about YouTube and why everyone, even if you're not a videographer, should be making YouTube videos. Maybe we could start off with that as a good jumping point, because I really think that video is probably the most important thing you could be doing for your business right now, even if you're not in the video space. Most of the content on the internet that people are engaging with, the highest percentage of engagement of content on the internet is video content. There's crazy statistics out there. I know I mentioned some in the article. Think about the content that you personally watch. I mean, look at what we're doing right now. I mean, we're watching. You're watching a video, or we're having a video chat. So video is so important. It's passive, meaning people can you can watch it while you're doing something else. It's not like reading where you have to really be engaged with it. It's videos at an all-time high. So it's definitely there's all kinds of great tips in that article we can definitely go over in getting started with making videos. I know it was easy for me to start making videos because I'm a videographer, but if you're not used to that, you really might have some trouble with that, but we can go over it. But what you can do with the video is even more exciting, because YouTube is actually, like, not to get too crazy on the technical stuff, but YouTube is actually a search engine in and of itself, because it's owned by Google. You can essentially search SEO or search engine optimization. You can do that on your videos, and you can actually rank higher in Google. There's tons of things you can do within the Google algorithm and the YouTube algorithm to get yourself some exposure. So I highly, highly recommend making videos, and maybe we can just start talking about that.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, at the end of the day, it's one of those things where, like you said, video is everywhere. People consume so much video. I don't even remember the number, but man, I saw this number that was like an astronomical amount of video that's uploaded every single time to every single second or every single minute to YouTube or something like that. Like, it's a ridiculous number. So video is definitely part of our lives, and it's not like on the downtrend. If anything, it's continually still on the uptrend of our lives, and video is very important. I think where a lot of people get hung up, and as a videographer, you might be able to help answer to this point. I think sometimes a lot of people get hung up in, I don't, does it have to look professional?
Mm-hmm.
I'm worried about the lighting. I'm worried about this. I see some other videos that other people are doing. My advice to that person is just do a damn video, and don't worry about like the lighting, and don't worry about if you look just right, and don't worry about if you think people can see up your nose and the way you're holding the camera and all of this stuff, right? Like, the most important thing is the content, what you're talking about, what you're trying to deliver to these people. But what are your thoughts on maybe those concerns?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, we all have to start somewhere with what we're doing. Even the YouTube stars, the people that you look at and you're like, wow, how did they get to that point? I mean, man, most of them started out on a phone. So Honestly, I always recommend just start. I mean, that was the hardest thing for me in the beginning of my business, was to start, because I felt like I was like, oh, I need to have this piece of equipment, or I need to have this, or I can't start unless I have this. And to some extent, that is true. Like if you don't have a camera, and you're a videographer, but just get started. I mean, we all have a video recording device in our pockets. The phone works just as well when you're getting started. um, a small light, if you can afford it, on Amazon, they're pretty cheap, will go a long way. Also, I really would recommend, if you're going to improve anything first, I would highly recommend improving your audio first, because audio has actually been shown to be more of a determinant of whether or not people are going to watch your videos. So if you got bad audio on your videos, people are more likely to turn it off than if the lighting's bad. So there's mics that you can get, like a little extension microphone for your phone, that are pretty cheap. Just get started. I mean, it doesn't have to be crazy. Maybe just show people your process, or how or provide tips. One of the easiest videos you can make is top 10 tips for your industry on when hiring your industry. You know what I mean? Top 10 tips when hiring a videographer, top 10 tips when hiring a wedding planner, top 10 tips when hiring a DJ. So that would be my biggest thing, is just to get started. There's even things like iMovie are pretty intuitive, and you could watch one simple tutorial, 5-minute tutorial, and you could be making videos today. So the good news is it's definitely not exclusive.
Well, and I don't think that I think that you bring up some very good points. And, one of the things that people have to remember is there doesn't have to be a lot of razzmatazz and a lot of it doesn't have to look like a production. I mean, you can look at platforms like, TikTok is a perfect example. I mean, yeah, there's some people that do some amazing things on TikTok, but there's so many people that literally grab their phone and they do this and they post it and they get
Right.
6 billion views, right? Like they're not doing any level of production.
Yeah.
The only thing they're doing, well, first of all, most of the time they're doing a trend, but the point is that, there wasn't any production value that usually goes into that. So I think your comment about that is great. And then like the top 10 tips thing, even maybe a smart idea could be to record all 10 of them, but don't put all 10 of them out on one video. Use it for 10 different videos. It could be 10 different 60-second videos that you could put in your Instagram stories, or something along those lines. Michelle, what are your thoughts on video? I know you told us earlier you're not a big fan of jumping on video.
Very educational for me right now, just because I hate virtual video things, and which is really surprising, because I feel like I can talk to anyone. I don't mind talking in front of people, but for some reason, this whole video thing, that especially during this whole quarantine and COVID, we've really grown accustomed to Zoom meetings or FaceTimes, or this is StreamYard or Facebook Live, all those things, and I don't utilize them. I know that for sure. I don't like to be on camera. I don't like to record myself. I'm going to probably watch this again later and be like, ugh, I hate this all. So this is definitely very educational for me, just because, like Nick said, videos they're up and coming. They're today's marketing. We watch videos on Instagram TV, we watch YouTube, we watch TikTok, we watch all of this, Facebook Lives. I've definitely chimed into a few of those. And I guess I just never even realized how big videos are becoming. Even just something simple like watching someone just talk is so much easier than reading, the about me or whatever you're reading, their services. Hearing them just talk is a much more, I think, personal level. So it definitely draws you in when it comes to that marketing aspect. But again, not for me. I hate being on camera. But yeah, definitely video is something that I think, eventually I will learn to love and utilize more to my advantage in the marketing aspect. Because you said it looks super simple. People are just taking their phones and they're recording themselves sitting wherever and posting it, and it's getting the job done. So, yeah.
The coolest thing about...
Go ahead,
go ahead, David. Okay.
No, you go ahead.
The coolest thing about the video thing that I found, because I absolutely hate recording myself too. That's why I got into videography, was because I was like, I can just stand behind the camera and I don't have to be in front of it, and that works for me.
Yeah.
But the coolest thing about it, seriously though, that I've heard from other people and just in general from people that actually make like YouTube videos and stuff, it's like they brought a really good point to my attention, was people never perceive you how you perceive yourself. Like we've oftentimes, like, I'm always super critical of myself, like, oh, you know, I look this way, or like I sound this way, or whatever it is. But it's crazy how other people don't see you that way. Like, it's people have a completely different perception of you. So that's the thing about video that you kind of have to like put out of your mind, is like how I'm perceiving myself is like how not how other people are perceiving me. So I've heard that from a lot of people though. It's like, oh, you know, I would do video, but you know, I really just don't like seeing myself. Like, it's hard, especially like having to edit yourself. Like, it's hard, but I just always remind myself that it's like, all right, well, you know, this is providing value to somebody else, and like they're not actually perceiving like me the way that I am. So I thought that was a really interesting point, because it's true. Because it's like, I look at other videos of people, I'm like, oh yeah, that was totally fine. If David puts out a video, I'm like, oh, it's David, you know. And you know, I don't know how David feels about that, but you know, I just see it as him, you know what I mean? It's a weird psychological thing.
Yeah, I think we're all hitting it on the head, that it's kind of like, you think about, you can take this all the way back to when you were in school, and you know, you were always afraid to raise your hand. You're always afraid maybe to get up in front of the classroom. And not everybody that's going to listen to this is going to fall into that category, but a lot of people that are going to listen to this fall into that category. And we're always worried about that one person that is going to, like, you know, make faces at us in the back of the room, or, you know, get everybody laughing at us, or maybe trip us when we're walking up there. And so that sticks with you, and that, you know, you carry that into adulthood if you never took the time to get over that. And so and I'm guilty of it too. I mean, Nick, you and I have done some videos together, and you know, you'll be recording the video and it'll be like 10 takes, because I'll be like, oh, you know, I sounded like I was, you know, from a different country when I said that one word. And it's like, probably nobody's even going to care. And like 99% of it was probably top notch, and then that 1% is what's in my mind. Instead of worrying about the 99%, it was really, really good. And the other thing is, there are people that are probably either watching this right now, we're watching it earlier, or we'll watch it another time, that are going to say, I could never do what they're doing. You know, I could not see myself just getting on here and just, you know, because what we're doing, this is like straight up live conversation. Like, we've had very small chats together about what we want to talk about, but we're by no means reading a script or anything at all like that. So this is even a next level challenge, because there's no material in front of you to refer to when you get, you know, choked up or you get caught up or whatever. But I think it's really healthy, and especially for somebody like Michelle, who, you know, said she hates doing this, and hopefully we can, by having her be a part of this, get her over hating it, and at least maybe downgrade it to dislike, or not my favorite thing to do, right? Like anything else, practice makes perfect, right? And so, but I think it's very, very vital. All three of us said the same thing. You have to not worry about the people who are in everything in life. There's going to be people that resonate with you and people that don't. And if you can speak to and you can connect with the people that resonate with you, they will love on you enough to not have to worry about the people who don't.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a great point. I like just one more thing about David's point was, it's crazy how much of it is in your own head. Like, it really is. Like, I was so in my own head when we first started doing stuff. Like, David will definitely attest to the fact that, like, I was a mess when we did our first podcasts and stuff like that. And now I'm just at a point where you practice enough of it, where you just get comfortable with yourself, man. This could be like a great, like, little like boost to your confidence too. Like, it's like you just become so much more comfortable with yourself. And it's like, am I going to say the most perfect things every single time? No, I'm going to make tons of mistakes. I'm going to say things that I probably regret at some point, but it's like, dude, that's what this is all about. Like, this is a part of it. And like, I think almost like when we're in this group together, like especially like in the wedding business community, that you can show some vulnerability is powerful. So,
Well, I love using the example of, like, you know, being a DJ. You know, my job is to essentially, if you were to ask people what's my job, they would tell you my job is to get people out on the dance floor dancing and having a good time. I already know going into every event that I do that the most events that I do, let's just call it, the music that I'm going to play is not going to appeal to everybody in there. The only thing I can worry about is appealing to the majority of the people that are in there, and then using that energy for that to grow. And again, using that energy to connect with those people that are in there that, you know, they're down with the vibe that, you know, for the most part, the client gave me this vibe to create. So there kind of has to be a little bit of, like, I don't even really know if guests dive that far into it, but like guests need, you know, have to understand that it's so funny. Like when I talk to a couple who's been to another wedding and they're like, oh my God, the music was this, the music was that. Like, I'm not afraid to say to them, like, think about the fact that while that might not have been what you liked, that might not have been what you want at your wedding, there's a potential chance that the DJ that was at that wedding, that couple asked them to play that genre of music or that style of music or those particular songs or whatever. Now, if they didn't, then that's a whole different ballgame. But quite often they have. And so, you know, it's just, at the end of the day, like, I'm getting a little bit off topic. My whole point of all of this is just really, when it comes to making videos, because that's really what we're talking about, is make videos that are about information and about conversations that are important to you. And then whomever out there, sorry about that, whoever out there in the world that sees them and connects with them, that's all that matters. Everybody else is irrelevant. And at the end of the day, as the old saying goes, whether they're talking good about you or they're talking bad about you, at least they're talking about you, right? So who cares?
True.
That's
True. It's a good point, for sure.
All right. So anything else on videos, Nick? Like any other quick tips, man, that we can help people? Like, here's what I'd love to see happen. Whoever's watching this, and I'm going to challenge you, Michelle, I'm challenging you live on this video to make a video. All right. A quick 15 seconds. It can be 15 seconds, right? But you know, I would love to see people that are watching this to say, you know what, they're right. I can do this. I'm going to just make a quick video. And I'm just going to throw it out there and just say, hey, I'm such and such. This is what I love doing. And if you're following me, you didn't know that, now you do. It could be something as simple as that. But anyways, Nick, tips, help. What do we got?
I would just break it down to like, just go right. Like David said, just go for it. I mean, just do it. Just count down, you know, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to do this, and I'm just going to do it. And I'm going to do it today. And getting started is the hardest part. But I mean, we all have the phone, you know, boom, you can hold it right up and do what you got to do. Post it everywhere. I mean, post it to Facebook, post it to Instagram, post it to YouTube. It doesn't have to be like David said, like the masterpiece. I mean, the fact that you're putting stuff out there is going to be enough for you to get the ball rolling to start doing it, and then it's all downhill from there, really. So
the other thing to remember is the video doesn't have to have you in it. Like there's a lot of programs that you can utilize, that you can create videos that still tell the story that you want to tell, that you don't even have to be in the video. So maybe that is step number one. If somebody's afraid to actually be in front of the camera, maybe step number one is just make a quick video that doesn't have you in it at all. Yeah.
And you could easily do voiceover stuff with, you know, just showing some of your stuff. Like, hey, this is what we do. Like, I'm a florist, or I'm a cake baker, and oh, here's our place, here's our process. Like, this is kind of how we do things. You know, yeah, it's that easy. Small steps, and just go for it. I mean, just start doing something today, because it's gonna pay dividends.
I think that's probably one of the best pieces of advice that you can definitely give to people, without a doubt. Perfect. All right. So one of the other topics that we talked about, and I think we'll kind of, or you wrote an article about, I should say, and maybe we'll wrap up the conversation just talking a little bit about this. And again, looking forward into bringing our guest into next week so that we could talk a little bit more about different ways specifically on social media to market yourself and to kind of, maybe think outside the box a little bit and think of ways that you can utilize. I'm teasing a little bit about some of the things that we're going to talk about, but just utilizing the things that you already have, but just doing them in a different way, whether it's a skill or a craft or an actual product or something along those lines that, just using it in a different way. We've seen that, look at all the manufacturing companies that went from, making what they were making to shifting into making like ventilators. And then all of these companies that shifted to making masks and shifted to making, sanitizer and all these different things, which they didn't do before all of this stuff happened. And so it's kind of along those lines. But the other article you wrote was about business cards. And this is a little bit of an interesting topic to me, truthfully, because I really think business cards are a thing of the past, but I want to offer the two of you to tell me otherwise. But I kind of feel like business cards are a thing of the past, but you did talk about some good, really, really good points on that. When it comes to business cards. So let's dive into that a little bit, Nick.
Sure. I guess I could see what you're saying with business cards kind of being, a thing of the past. But to me, there's always something about them when you physically have like a tangible thing that is pretty much like a handshake almost to when you're introduced to a business. Like that's always going to stick in my mind. Like even if I just use it to get your Instagram handle, or if I use it to get your Facebook, or just go to your website, I think that in and of itself, it pays for it. You know what I mean? So I get what you're saying about business cards being kind of antiquated, but at the same time, like when you're at an event and you can just hand out business cards, like you don't have to sit and say, oh, what's your Instagram? And like, you have to like pull up the app and go for it. Like it's just on there. You can actually create business cards now where you've got some cool stuff on them, like QR codes, where you literally just hold your phone up to it and it can literally take you to your website, social media, or something like that. So I still think there's cool stuff you can do with them. I think they haven't evolved. As much. They are just like a piece of, ultimately they are just like a piece of paper. So there's really not much you're gonna, evolve there. But you could definitely do some things to make yours stand out. You can make them a little bit thicker. Make them a little bit more, have a little bit more substance. You can make them different shapes. It's definitely something I've looked into, is making like the squares to kind of make them stand out a little bit. But I still think when you're at an event, if you could just say, here's my business card. Like I still have, I don't know if you can see it in my screen there in the bottom right. I've got business cards like just chilling, like stacked on my thing of people that I've, connected with. So I still think they're valuable for sure.
Yeah, and the the electronic ones and like the plastic ones you were talking about, like there's a company called Blue Social that you can get one of that, and there's probably half a dozen. Hell, now that we're talking about it, we're probably going to get 7 million ads on Instagram on our phones now because we're talking about it, right? So
ultimate marketing.
Right. So if you listen to this out loud, then Instagram will probably start showing you ads on your phone. But anyways,
crazy.
Yeah. So those are kind of cool. It's just a plastic card that has a one of those, I forget what it's called, but like that little reader deal. What was it? NSF or N something, or those acronyms for everything.
NFC, I think.
Yeah, and you just kind of tap your phone to the card, or the card to your phone, and it provides that person with kind of your like your address card or your information to put into their address deals. So things like that are pretty cool. And I guess that's what I mean. Like I don't think that people should just stop using business cards, but I do just kind of do like the more modern way of using them, because for the most part, you give somebody your business card, they take the information they want and they throw it away.
Yeah.
Very few people anymore keep business cards, right?
Yeah.
So from that standpoint, it might be more of it might make more economical sense to have one of those cards where you just say, here, tap your phone to this, and all the information about me you need is right here, or all the information I want you to know about me is here. Michelle, tell me some things that you don't like if you don't see it on a business card, you're upset about it. Is there anything like that?
I don't know. I'm kind of with you. Like, I just feel like business cards are kind of definitely fading out. I definitely have them. I do keep them, in my work bag, or a couple in my wallet, some in my car. Do I hand them out as often as I think people used to? No. I do think, Nick did make some really good points about thinking outside the box and doing things that maybe just aren't your standard cards, but still keeping it simple at the same time. I definitely have been handed cards that I remembered. And I remember, I was just thinking about something. I'm like, oh yeah, I got this really awesome card for, an awesome photographer. And I remembered holding the card and visibly seeing the card, and it caught my mind and I went back to it. But like you said, I personally think that they're not as popular as they used to be. We are more, I think, social and tech driven. So I have started to see some things like the QR codes, or, there was something I remember seeing just online that it went on the back of like your iPhone, and you tapped it to another phone and it gave them all your information. So I don't know. I don't really think I look at business cards as often as people used to, or I should. I don't know. So, but I feel like obviously social media is a huge thing, because that's where I refer 9 times out of 10 my clients to see most up-to-date work. So I think having your Instagram or your Facebook on there. Websites are great. People, I don't think, keep up their websites as much. It doesn't show as, not everyone's blogging every week, new weddings or whatever. They're posting it on Instagram or posting it on Facebook. So I think to have those two on if you're going to have a card, to have those on there, 100% important. And obviously a contact email or phone number. I hate just having emails for people. I want to have a phone number too, because I know sometimes people don't check emails.
Yeah.
So, hey, how can I get, your phone number? So, because I actually think too, there are some vendors I will email and they will not respond, or I will call them and they won't answer. I will follow up with a text message and get an immediate response.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of surprising, but I'm also the same way. I have an out of town area code phone. People are all destination clients and vendors, and we get different area codes. I don't answer every phone call I get. I don't want to. They follow up with a text, I'm going to respond right away.
Yeah.
So I think phone number and social media are definitely the top 2 things to have on your business card, in today's wedding world and today's just overall with a business.
Well, to your point about a website, and a lot of people are guilty of this. A lot of people, and if you think about it, your website is to some extent like a digital version of a business card for you.
Mm-hmm.
And if it hasn't been updated in 6 months and it hasn't changed in 6 months, it's very easy for a potential client to look at this and say, well, hell, these guys haven't even done anything from 6 months. Like, are they even still in business, at this point in time?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's kind of funny to laugh about it, but it's also kind of like one of those things, like, sometimes those would be the people that you'll never even hear from. You'll never even know that they looked at your website, because they already made a predetermined decision about you based on what they saw on your website. So I think you're very spot on about saying that it's important to make sure that if you do have a business card, that you have you have your social media handles on that business card. But then it's also important to make sure that you're updating those social media handles as well, because if same thing could apply. And I mean, during COVID-19, like, it's been tough for me, especially. I'm usually really good about posting on social media almost on a daily basis, but I'm not even gonna lie to you. I mean, like, during COVID-19, I'm like, shit, I don't really know what to post about. Like, I mean, I'm not doing any events, so I can't really post any, dope pictures from the dance floor, or, somebody doing I love capturing pictures of people doing crazy stuff, and then, maybe using the caption to say something that really is not like what's going on in the photo, but in my brain, it's what I think is going on or could be going on in the photo. Like, that kind of stuff is fun, but hell, during this time frame, there hasn't been much going on. So if you're in that same situation, like, I know a lot of people are like, going back and kind of revisiting a lot of the events and, reposting a lot of stuff. And if that's you, then that's great. But if that's not really where you're at, don't be afraid to talk to your clients. And here I go again, going off on a tangent that's not about business cards, but still it's about what we're talking about here, right? So, like, don't be afraid to tell your clients, like, hey, here's my social media handle, but I'm just going to be honest with you up front. There probably isn't much on there. We haven't been doing anything. You may have heard of this thing called COVID. Yeah, it's affecting us. It's affecting us too, right? But just letting people know that this is why this is not going on, because at the end of the day, really, I think your social media is your business card of today. I really do. I think your social media is your business card of today. And so it is really important to keep it up to date. But if you are going to still give out the paper cards, or you are going to do the scanning deal and all of that stuff, by all means, keep those things in there. And then also maybe communicating to people, to Michelle's point, like communicate to people, hey, I respond better with text, or I respond better with email, or I respond better with voicemail, or whatever the case may be. Like a lot of times within our industry, like I know we I don't even know if we do it anymore, but in our forum, we used to ask our clients, which way do you prefer for us to communicate to you? Do you want us to email you? Do you want us to call you? Do you want us to text you? We want to communicate at the level that you're comfortable with. And so if you have a business card that has all of those pieces of information available, then once that's found out by the other party, then, like to Michelle's point, they don't have to search, go on, phonenumbers.com and try to find out what the heck your phone number is, or, go to your website and there's no phone number and there's no email, and all there is this form to fill out. And the form is not even the reason why I want to talk to you in the first place for. Like, if you're in business, you should be really easy to get a hold of if you want to make money. If you don't want to make money, then do all that other stuff. But if you want to make money, then it should be really, really easy to get a hold of you. I mean, am I making sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think too,
Definitely.
Going back to the business cards, like you and I think they're phasing out, but the reason I do have them is because we do deal with older clients in different generations. And we have to remember that, my generation is obviously very tech savvy. We are social media driven. We are online. But then I deal with a lot of clients' parents. And I can't say, hey, check us out on social media. Here's my Instagram handle. I have to give them a card, So it's like, you have to remember too that maybe you can't rule completely out business cards just because we are more social media driven, because I feel like there is still use for them. So I do think, it is important to have them, or to have that option to offer.
I think that's a great point. Absolutely great point.
I think
Websites, just going back to the website, it is important to have your website, because some people might not be on social media. They might not be on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is you're using to market your business. But a website, you can search that in Google and it's going to pop up, hopefully, if, your SEOs are, good and all that. It should pop up, and that's what they're going to do. They're going to go home and type in coastal celebrations or Nick videography, or, and that's how they're going to find you. So I think that's important too, to remember that we're not only catering, not everyone has developed with the trends and the fads socially and technology based. So
I think that in terms of the business cards and in terms of that whole thing, if you think about it in terms of a funnel, like the sales funnel, I know a lot of people talk about that. They're just tools. Ultimately, they're tools to get you to the end goal, which is a sale. So whatever tool you have, it doesn't matter. Some are more effective, like Michelle said, some are more effective to others. Business cards might work for some people. I've had plenty of people be like, hey, where's your business card? Can I have a business card? I'm like, oh, and then I have other people who are, hey, I just want to get you on Facebook, or I want to get you on Instagram. So, but having the tools to facilitate the next step in the process of booking the business is the most important thing. I think it's different. Like, it's important to have all the tools for sure. Like, it's important that you're covered, but the most important thing is that you're getting them to the next step in the process, which is, okay, I see this, they're legit, this looks awesome. David's a great DJ, Michelle's a great wedding planner, or, let's get to the next step. So that's the most important thing, is that your sales cycle goes to the next step.
All right, so I think what we've decided is you can't really do away with the business card. You guys definitely have convinced me that you are correct. I don't think that a business card can be completely done away with, but I think that also we've discussed some really good points about the fact that you can make them look fresh and new and different, and they don't necessarily have to be the traditional rectangle size. They can be different sizes. They can be different variations of thickness. There's some really cool cards, and I mean, the good news about it is that I think the decline in popularity of business cards works to your advantage, because they're a lot more affordable now to do, like the tricked out ones, as I'll call them. Yeah. Obviously, like the traditional, rectangle business cards are super cheap, but you can get those tricked out ones for a good price now too, because they just continue to keep being affordable. Or you just go all out, and it's not even really going all out. It's like $30 or something like that to get one of those plastic ones that you just tap on the phone and all your info's there. So
David's card legit. But I just wanted to say that, because I remember feeling your card, dude, and it was like, it had such a nice texture to it. I was like, damn, this is nice.
I've never gotten one of your business cards, so
right. I'm like low key have this really cool card, I guess, and I'm the one. Legit. I'm the one down talking business cards.
He has the nicest card out of all of us, straight up.
You're gonna have them, make them unique, but keep it simple.
Yeah.
Make them catch your eye, or remember holding it or physically being given it, because that's, again, I've done it. I've referenced it. I remember saying, oh, I got this. It was a thicker card, or it was a wood chip card. But I remembered getting it, and I was like, oh, yep, that's what I want to do. Where is that card? And I would go back and look for it. So I think definitely making it unique and keeping it simple is definitely
makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Well, guys, we are getting close to the end of this. So if you're watching and you have any questions or you have any comments, we're talking about, we've been talking about marketing, we've been talking about time management, just some helpful tips and helpful pointers to kind of guide you as you're navigating through your week. And let's be honest, guys, we're going to start getting busy again pretty soon here. I think I might be doing a little bit of wishful thinking, but I'm hoping sooner than later that we're going to start getting busier, and we're going to start having to apply a lot of the things that we've talked about just in the last 2 episodes. I mean, we've still got so much more coming up to share, but just in these last 2 episodes, there's a lot of helpful pointers and helpful tips that can get you, if you kind of start making some of those things habits and start applying the things that make sense to you, then it's going to be really helpful when you do start getting busy again and everything. So guys, thank you very much. Thank you for Michelle. Thank you for joining us today. If we can talk you into it, and you don't dislike being on video too often, we'd love to have
the spot.
What's that?
This is how you got me last time. You just put me on the spot.
Right. Well, we're gonna keep wanting you to come back. So hopefully you want to keep coming back with us. It's super helpful. Obviously, it's nice to have a female perspective on a lot of the things too, because we're just 2 knucklehead dudes, like just talking about our stuff, and so it's great to have a viewpoint from the female side. And I know that you are so actively involved in the wedding process that you just can really bring a lot of help. So we appreciate you being here. We hope you'll continue to be here with us. Nick, any closing words before we shut it down for the day?
I think I think this was a great conversation. I think there were some really, valuable things in there that we discussed that I think people will get a lot of value out of. So yeah, again, Michelle, thanks for being here. David, the guy, appreciate you.
My videos, record myself, watch it, get used to it.
Yeah, one actionable thing we can say for the end of this, if for some actionable stuff, I would say go try to make a video. I mean, go try to make a video or and put it out there, and don't be afraid, and just go for it. Love to see him.
Here's what we should do. I just got a great idea. Here's what we should do. All three of us make a video, and we'll show them on next week's episode.
Oh,
how about that?
Yeah, that sounds
right.
Like an
Come on,
idea.
15 seconds of it's only 15 seconds of your life.
All right.
So let's all make a video. Let's all make a pact. At the end of the day, we can't ask people to do things if we're not willing to do those things ourselves. All right. And I'm speaking for Michelle and Nick now, when I really should just be speaking for myself. Right. But we'll have some fun with this. All right. So we're all going to make our own video. We're going to show them next week. And I think we're going to, so what's that?
A video of anything?
Well, yeah, sure.
Whatever.
Whatever you decide, as long as it's like something we can actually show and get, and not get kicked off of Facebook for showing. I mean,
All right. I guess I'll take the challenge.
oh, there you go. Look at that. That's solid. Nick, I don't even have to ask you. I know you'll take the challenge, right?
Yeah.
I know you
Making
will.
TikToks all day long.
This guy. Hey, me and Nick actually made a pretty fun one a couple of weeks ago. That was kind of. It's actually probably the one TikTok video that has the most likes on my whole TikTok channel. Nothing else really gets anything. Yeah. So whatever, but that's good. It is what it is. I'm like probably too old to be a part of the TikTok generation, which is fine with me.
Definitely not.
I got my own people I resonate with, so we're good. We're all good. All right, guys, thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. We didn't go quite as long this week, which is great. Next week, we're going to shoot for Wednesday. Okay, Wednesday, we're probably going to shoot for next week. And if we change the date, then I'll just edit that part out of this video, and that way we won't confuse people. And we're going to keep playing around with the time. We did 8 p.m. last week. We did 5 p.m. this week, both Eastern Standard Time. I will honestly say I think our viewership was a little bit higher at the 8 p.m. mark. So we'll kind of play around with that. But we really want to make sure that we're on when the most people can watch and most people can participate. We know you can go back and watch these videos later on, but this is more about, participation. This is more about people that are watching, commenting, and asking questions, and really diving into the minds of the 3 people or however many people are on camera at any given video to really help you with the things that you have questions about and issues that are important to you right now, and what can we do to help those things happen. So, viewers, listeners, people that stumble upon this somehow, if you're watching, you have a question, you have a comment, continue to keep adding those for us so that we can take care of those things. All right, you guys, I think we are done for the day. Thank you very much for joining, and we will see you next week on Wedding Business Growth Live. Have a good day.
Peace.
Okay.